if everyone could please stand up and move forward so that we have space for people who are coming in. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Two nights ago, I spoke about why we, the lovers of Ahlul Bayt, love and remember Imam Hussein. Last night, I spoke about the qualities of Imam Hussein's companions and the qualities that make us, that are the reason why we still remember them. And tonight, inshallah, I will be speaking about the role of brotherhood in Ashura. When we look at the story of Ashura, and we look at the relationship between Imam Hussein, Abul Fadl al-Abbas, and Lady Zainab alayhimus salam, we see that there was an emphasis on protecting each other. They had a very strong sense of brotherhood between them. With the example of Lady Zainab alayhi salam, we see that she stuck by the Imam's side from the start to finish and even after his martyrdom. She left her husband and her home in Medina and traveled all the way to Karbala with her brother just to be with him. Even though she did not fight in the battle, she had no obligation to go with him, but she still decided to go because so she could be with her brother. During the battle, she watched diligently over him. And after his martyrdom, after being marched around from Iraq to Sham, from Kufa to Damascus, she stood up in the courts of Ibn Ziyad and Yazid, and she defended her brother. This is one example of how brotherhood played an important role in Ashura and the events that came after. When we look at the relationship between Abul Fadl al-Abbas and Imam Hussein, we see the same exact thing. They both had an extreme sense of respect for each other and protectiveness over one another. From the beginning of the battle of Ashura, Abul Fadl al-Abbas, throughout the battle, repeatedly asked his brother if he could go and fight the enemy. Because he wanted to serve his brother, he wanted to protect him. He wanted to serve him by fighting the enemies on the battlefield. But the Imam continued to refuse. Why? Because he knew that Abul Fadl al-Abbas was his strongest supporter and he wanted to protect his own brother. They both looked out for each other. And only when Abul Fadl al-Abbas asked to retrieve water from the river of Furat was when the Imam allowed him to leave the encampment. And even when he reached the river and he had the chance to drink water, he still refused. Why? Because he remembered the thirst of his brother. He remembered the words of his brother, and he could not bring himself to drink water because of that bond that they had, because of that sense of respect. So, the main idea or the main lesson that we can learn from these examples is that each person put their other sibling or the other person before themselves. It's a lot more difficult to actually do this. It's a lot easier said than done to put someone else before your own desires and before your own needs. But this is exactly what each one of them did. And this is what makes the story of Ashura beautiful. The story of Ashura is a story of sacrifice. And we see that each one of these people, we see that each one of them, even we see that each one of them had to make a sacrifice in order for the greater good. And we see that this bond of brotherhood between Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam, and Lady Zainab alayhi salam is what makes the story of Ashura beautiful. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.